And Zelenskyy further stated that all nuclear power plants in Ukraine belong to the people of Ukraine, following comments by US President Donald Trump suggesting that the United States could own and operate the country's nuclear facilities.
All nuclear power plants belong to the people of Ukraine. They are state-owned nuclear power plants. We do not have private property, energy, nuclear power in Ukraine. We have thermal generation. There is green energy. There is private partnership. There is completely private energy. This is absolutely clear and correct. But all nuclear power belongs to the state of Ukraine.
Well, President Donald Trump declared on Thursday that the United States would soon sign a deal with Ukraine for access to its rare earth minerals. Trump has been pressuring President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to sign economic deals to compensate the United States for its support in its conflict with Russia.
I also signed an executive order to dramatically increase production of critical minerals and rare earths. It's a big thing in this country, and as you know, we're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths and minerals and lots of other things all over the world, but in particular Ukraine. We're doing very well with regard to Ukraine and Russia, and one of the things we are doing is signing a deal very shortly with respect to rare earths with Ukraine, which they have tremendous value in rare earth.
And for more on the talks, we have Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, given the recent statements from President Zelenskyy regarding Ukraine's nuclear power plants, how does this influence the broader context of the US-Ukraine relations, especially in light of what President Trump had said on energy and critical minerals?
Well, Lipakshi, if you look at the statements that are coming in from President Putin and Zelenskyy, they are in fact contradictory in nature as far as the nuclear power plants are concerned.
Right.
So while the U.S. president has hinted that the U.S. should own, in fact, the nuclear power plants and the operations of these nuclear power plants in Ukraine. The Ukrainian president has stated otherwise, saying that all the nuclear power plants belong to the people of Ukraine, and it is a property of state. So that essentially means that there are still several points where the two leaders do not agree as far as the rare earth minerals are concerned. Both Ukraine and Russia have in fact been seen as places where these rare earth minerals that are being eyed by the United States of America are storing. And in fact, if the deal with Ukraine does not go through, there is also potential that the US president may cut a deal with the Russian president as well, because earlier the Russian president has stated that whatever Ukraine has to offer, Russia has in much more quantity and in better quality. So from the perspective of Donald Trump, this entire conflict and the resolution of this conflict, even the ceasefire, does not seem like a halt in the conflict. It more seems like a business opportunity. So clearly, if the deal goes through between US and Ukraine, as far as the nuclear power plants are concerned or the rare earth minerals, then we can expect a better relation between the two countries and more continued support in this war effort from the US side, which has been, in fact, the major contributor in terms of aid, in terms of weapons to Ukraine in this war against Russia. But if it doesn't go through, then we can expect a very, very different movement from the United States of America as far as diplomacy is concerned, geopolitics of the region, and we may also see the Donald Trump administration cutting a deal with the Russian side too,
right,
which would be unprecedented in nature.
All right. Also, Akshay, what specific initiatives related to the Black Sea, especially, can we expect to be discussed during the talks between the Russian officials and the US and Saudi Arabia? And how might this influence the broader geopolitical situation?
Well, it would be too early to speculate that what can we expect on Black Sea, because there have been several sticking points when it comes to the region, especially when you take Crimea for an example. It is at the Black Sea, the Mediterranean connection, and the supply of a lot of food grains and other important trade goes through the Black Sea. However, when you you look at the stance that have been there from both the Ukrainian sides or the Russian side, they have been quite conflicting in nature. So as of now, what is decided, what can be expected is too early to be said, but tensions remain. That is a fact, and ever since Russia occupied Crimea, the conflict has an origin in that particular instance when Russia said that Crimea belongs to the Russian people, and it in fact held a referendum there as well. So the sticking points between Russia and the present conflict also dates back to in fact the control of the Black Sea. So it remains to be seen what concessions
Right.
Russia will be making as far as the region is concerned.
Absolutely. Also, Akshay, given the timing of the talks, if we talk about how significant do you think the involvement of both Ukrainian and Russian officials will be in shaping the future negotiations on the conflict?
Well, it's quite important, Lipakshi. Both of the sides are two warring factions, so naturally they have to be included as far as negotiations deal is concerned. But it remains to be seen that what Donald Trump administration will be able to achieve as far as these negotiations are concerned, because they are quite, one would say, radical in nature as far as these kind of talks that have been initiated by the U.S. administration, because engaging even with the Russian side is quite quite a unique thing that's happening as far as this war is concerned, because earlier there were negotiations happening between the U.S. and the Ukrainian side, but this time around with involvement of Russia, it seems that all the parties that are in the conflict, including US, because it has been supporting the war effort of Ukraine, will sit and in fact hold negotiations. So there might be some sort of ceasefire, a permanent one that too,
Right.
in near future.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all those insights.